Hey guys, just gonna do a little vlogging here for a few minutes on my way back from shooting my gun and doing a little bit of scouting for some geese. A couple days ago, my dad shot a nice sized buck, about a 30-40 yard shot from what I could see with a 450. Michigan's popular gun right now, well, at least for Zone 3. Myself, I shoot a 450 as well. Great gun, very accurate. My dad harvested 2 deer last week, or beginning or end of last week rather. So I mean, gun's been on great. I actually shot it today. Perfect. Don't know what happened. He said it was right on the on the shoulder, right behind the shoulder rather. Squeeze it off. Normally, deer took off. Really thick where he shot at. Where the deer ran rather was more in a thicker area, so it was kind of hard to see really what the deer was doing after it took off after the shot. So after a little bit, started looking for blood, found some blood, appeared to be a little darker. So searched for a little bit, kept following a blood trail, and not coming up with anything within like the first probably 250-300 yards. So I was up at our other blind with my daughter and my niece. I had to go drop her off and whatnot, so I got back to the property about, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours after, or probably 2.5 hours after the shot took place. So I did a little bit of calling just to get an idea, just in case we need a dog. I know a lot of people are against getting dogs, which I think is crazy to me. Dog is a great tool. It happens all the time. People lose deer and those dogs find them. Why not call a dog? Yeah, it costs $150, $200, maybe a little bit more. It's well worth it. For the deer and for yourself, the ease of mind. You owe it to the deer. Anyways, finally I got back there because my dad lost blood for a little bit. I ended up finding more blood, and we tracked for probably another 2 to 300 yards. I think it's so hard to tell when you're going in between brush and everything. We got to the point of we couldn't go any further because of a property line that we don't have permission to go on to. So we went and got permission. We decided after talking to the couple dog trackers that we probably should wait till in the morning. So decided to do that. My dad had to work, so I went out there. Actually, I hunted till about 8:30 that next morning, which was yesterday. Decided to go about 8:30. Went over to that person's house. They're real cool about it, so we can go back there and look. The big thing to remember too when you go ask is make sure that ask if there's any other hunters out there, or if it's okay you take your gun with you. That's a big thing to ask, because you don't want to just go back there with a gun and upset them, because you never know if you're ever going to need to go back there again. So it's definitely a good idea to take your gun with you in case you jump it. Obviously you don't want to shoot another deer. You thought that was the one you hit. You got to respect those people's properties. So anyways, to go forward, the next morning went there. I asked again to make sure it was okay that I parked my truck on their in their driveway, because they had a long driveway that made it a lot easier to get to that area that we last marked. I searched for I think almost 2 hours, and followed the blood trail, lost blood, so I was on my hands and knees, in and out of some brush. I try not to stir up the area too much, because I knew that we were probably going to call a dog. It gets real frustrating, you blood for a while. Every step there's a decent sized drop of blood. And the snow, forgot to mention, snow makes it really easy to track a deer, because you can even see their prints. You can follow those if you have to, but you always want to stay on blood. You don't ever want to get too far ahead of yourself, because you can lose it. I remember a couple times when I first got big back into this was, you get excited and you're like, oh, there's got to be blood here, I'm just gonna follow this trail, and you completely lose that last spot of blood, and that's terrible. You don't want to do that. So you want to, if you have a couple people with you, just have that one person, or you stay at that last blood or mark it with something. During archery season, I've used an arrow. or, just something to mark that spot. So I know, I've used my phone before, drop a pin, but that's not always exactly perfect, especially when you have maybe just a pin drop of blood. So anyways, I kept looking. I got to the point where I was like, it's past the point of me trying to find anything. I was really worried about stirring up too much because I was pretty sure there's a hunter on the other property. I saw a elevated blind. I didn't want to stir up his hunting, so decided to back out, contacted my dad, see what he wanted to do, and finally got to the point where I called the dog. Came from a long ways away. Great guy. Dog was awesome. Dog just, dog's had in the past couple days, I believe 4 recoveries, 4 good recoveries. So I was pretty confident this was going to be it. And dog came out, and no luck. Short where the blood was at, the track that we knew the deer went, and where the last spot of blood, dog just wasn't hitting on anything. I don't know how all that typically works, with the smells and everything, but I mean, those dogs are good. That's what they're trained for. So no success on it. The big thing, talking to a few other people, pretty sure that deer's probably, still alive. He was a stud from what my dad was saying. I mean, we have some big deer out there on that property. It's frustrating. It almost makes a grown man want to cry. 3 years ago, I had the same thing happen to me with a mishap with a muzzleloader. Ended up busting an edge of a tree out of a blind. I hunted the Saturday before, and I shot a doe Saturday before. We had a snowstorm while I was out hunting, and I immediately reloaded the muzzleloader, and I didn't know a ton about muzzleloaders then. I was just getting into them, and so the gun was dirty. I reloaded it, left it in my truck that entire week, didn't hunt that entire week. Went out the next Saturday, and I was sitting in my blind about an hour after first light. I had the buck I've been wanting, that shooter buck. It came in, was about 50 yards, easy shot. Hammer wouldn't lock back. I finally, the third time, I got it to go back, and my finger must have still been near the trigger, or something happened. The gun went off. The bullet grazed a pine tree just outside of the blind, and I noticed right after I shot, so I'm like, oh, I missed. So I went down to where the deer was at, and I found blood. I was like, holy cow, We ended up tracking this deer. We had a lot of snow still. We ended up tracking this deer through a lot of snow for, I think we ended up figuring up about 3 miles. We had to go to like 6 different people to ask permission to go on their properties, which again, you should always do, and ask those questions. Is there any other hunters out there? Is it okay if I take my gun with me? It's always good, make friends, don't make enemies. Definitely ask for permission. You don't want to, get charged with some trespassing or anything like that. Just respect their property as if it was yours, and what you would want somebody else to do with your property. So, so I know how my dad's feeling right now. It's terrible. It's like it was done deal. He just shot 2 deer, a few days before that. So to go on along with this story, I had my gun with me when I was out there looking, just in case I jumped it, because we weren't sure where it hit the deer. Some darker blood again. So I had my gun on over my shoulder, going in and out of the brush. My gun was on. I shot it a few days before season, dead on, up north, before, up at the family's property. Shot it, everything was great, so I knew my gun was on. Well, after bouncing around in that brush, I didn't hit it really hard on anything that I really feel that was enough to knock it off. But I just had this gut feeling. So after hunting today, I went over to one of the other properties and fired off a shot at 100 yards, and I was 8 inches low, and that's bad. I'm glad this morning a deer didn't come in, or last night when I hunted. I mean, the chance of me hitting a deer at 8 inches low at 100 yards, I mean, probably a pretty slim chance, but I don't want that. So, that's another thing too. You take a gun, or your gun takes a good jarring. It's a good idea, just, touch off a couple rounds, see where it's at, see if it's good. You owe it to the deer and, yourself, because that'd be really frustrating, That's you thinking your gun's on, and you know you're looking for this deer, you don't see no blood, and could have been because your gun was off. You know, again, I checked my dad's to make sure that's what it was, what it was or wasn't. His gun was perfect. So I don't know. You know, another thing to go along with the deer, after you make a shot, you know, archery season's typically a lot easier for blood. You know, you'll get typically, you're like with the 450s, you don't get a ton of blood typically. From what I've seen, I've shot 4 deer with my 450, and I've had okay blood for the most part. Usually you watch them crash, or you know, you'll hear it. Archery's nice because your arrow, you know, you can look at your arrow, you know, you can smell it if you have to. If you don't have decent blood, you can smell it to see if you have that, you know, that gut smell. Obviously, it's a terrible smell. You'll definitely know. If you got that dark, you know, the dark red blood, you know, either, you know, you're pretty good chance you got liver, or, you know, you got the bright red blood, you know, more likely that's going to be lungs. So it's always a good idea to, you know, see what type of blood you got. Always give the deer some time. You know, even on a lung shot, you know, it's a good idea, you know, 30 to 90 minutes. You know, if you're confident in a lung shot, you know, you got little bubbles in your blood, you know, that's on the ground. That's one thing I always look for, even on my arrows. If I look for little bubbles, you know, if you're not using, you know, like Luminox or like Nocturnals or something like that, Light and Nock, you know, they're amazing for archery because you could watch right where that arrow goes through. You know, there has been sometimes, you know, that you're like, man, I don't know, that looked a little far back. If you're not like running a camera or anything, you know, look at your arrow, look at the blood that's on the ground. You know, that blood will tell you a lot about where that deer was hit and how long to let that deer lie, because what'll happen is you can push the deer. Several times I've helped buddies, you know, that they've pushed deer. If they would have just let it lie, it would have been dead right at its first bed, because typically what'll happen is they'll go lay down, you know, especially a gut shot, you know, go try to find water. So if you have a gut shot, you know, look around water. You know, you want to wait, from what I've read and, you know, everything I've heard, you know, around 12 hours on a gut shot. You know, it's a sickening feeling in your stomach to, you know, let a deer lay that long in the woods, but the last thing you want to do is keep pushing that deer, because they will run, you know, and I've seen it, experienced it with some buddies, you know, so that's the last thing you want to do is push a deer. So kind of what I've always done, and I'm not saying this is 100% correct, you know, especially down in the comments, if you know something different or you've experienced something different, you know, type it in there. Again, you know, I said in my intro video is I'm no expert by any means on this. I just, from what I know and what I've heard from people and some pretty reputable people, you know, a good vital shot, lung shot, heart shot, you're going to want to wait, you know, 30, 90 minutes, you know, even if you watch them drop, just let them lie, you know, keep hunting, sit there, or just back out. It's never a bad idea to just still sit there, you know, watch what's going on. Liver shot, you know, up to, you know, 4 hours, you know, that's what I've always been told. Just let them lie, you know, that dark red blood. And, you know, if you got, no blood on your arrow, little to no blood, you're going to want to, that's more likely a gut. You could actually smell your arrow, and, you'll smell that gut smell. It's terrible. You might find like little, you know, brown or yellowish, nasty stuff on your arrow. Again, guts. It's your back in the sack, way behind the diaphragm and the vitals. That deer will die eventually. You just got to let it lie, because if not, you'll just keep pushing it. And that's the last thing you want to do. I know it's the hardest thing ever to just not go up and look for it. Trust me, I know, I've been there. You know, I pushed a liver shot before. Finally, I just waited, and then we went back out there and ended up finding it. So important to not just go push, because everyone's done it for the most part. Everybody does it. You get excited, you know, it happens. So just take your time. Again, guns a little bit harder to tell, you know. It's hard to see where, you know, you can't watch your bullet. You may be able to see that, you know, that tuft when the bullet hits the hide of the deer, maybe slim chance, because they're taking off. You know, watch the deer's reaction to the deer, you know, hunch down. Did the deer, you know, buck? You know, well, how was the tail? You know, this is all the type of stuff you need to know. You know, it's so important, because if you do have to call a dog, this is the question, call for a tracking dog. These are the questions they're going to ask you, you know, how did the deer act when you shot? Where was its tail? You know, which way did it run? You know, where do you think you hit? what color blood you got. Can you know, they'll ask for pictures. You know, try to get really good pictures, you know, with good lighting of the blood you got, so that if you do have to call that dog, or, you know, got some buddies, social media is great. You know, there's I mean, probably 70% of my social media is hunters of some type, you know, that have experienced something. You know, I'll put pictures on if I'm not sure, you know, because more often than not, you know, they're pretty close to what's going on there. They'll know. I had a buddy contact me yesterday. You know, he's a big hunter. I mean, he puts me to shame. He had some good input and whatnot. So don't ever be scared to, you know, ask for help. If it gets to the point where you do lose blood, you know, and you're not sure which way it went, don't tear up that woods. You know, call for a dog. That's what they do. They're good at it. So, and you got to trust in that dog. You know, their handlers know their dogs. You know, stay back. You know, ask the handler of the dog, you know, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to stay? You know, let that dog work. That's its job. They're good at it. So, whole lot thrown at you there. Again, I'm no expert by any means. I just from what I've experienced, you know, we do shoot quite a few deer a year, and you know, typically we watch them drop or you hear them crash, which is always the best feeling. You let them lie down for a little while, you know, go take most of your stuff off, and, you know, just relax, get something to drink, go eat something maybe, then go back out and recover that deer. So you always want to give them time. That's the biggest thing I'll tell you, is give them time. You know, that's not the scenario with my dad's deer. We don't feel, just stuff happens, you know, just a little twitch, you know, could throw it off to where it wasn't a good kill, or a good shot rather. So other than that, I mean, that's all I wanted to talk about with that. You know, just out scouting for some geese. That's been the tough thing right now is, you know, I got a couple good fields to hunt that are typically have the geese on them. They're not there right now. I don't know if, you know, we'll catch them in late season. We only have, I think, a week and a half. Yeah, we have till December 6th, I believe it is, we have for waterfowl. And then you have that little, you know, late season there, which typically in Michigan, the water freezes up and you don't, they go south. The birds aren't around. So trying to find some good fields right now. I just seen one down the road from my dad's. I'm going to try to make contact with those people to see if we can get on there. Want to do some goose hunt, get some good footage for you guys. It just hasn't worked out good. I got a little segments here and there of some deer, but nothing that I really want to throw up on the channel yet. So hopefully we get on some birds. Might have to get up to Fish Point before it closes. I've never been up to Fish Point. A lot of buddies go out there in Shiawassee. I think Fish Point's where I want to go, you know, check out next. So if you're experienced, if you guys have any recommendations on where to go up, you know, to Fish Point at, you know, what's the best, you know, how does it work? You know, I've heard, you know, some places you have to, you know, draw and then they tell you where you got to go or what areas. I haven't gone yet. I want to go check it out. I want to try the bay. You know, I have some buddies that do that, you know, go on the bay. So I'm addicted. I want to do it. So, alrighty. I think that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully, you know, some of it's valuable to you. If not, like I said, in the comments, you know, tell me what you do, you know, what you look for, you know, it's going to help people, because I know people read the comments, you know, not looking for any negativity. I mean, if you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You know, I'm by means no expert. You know, experienced quite a bit with this, and I feel pretty confident in the measures we've taken. So I think that's going to be it for today. We'll talk to you guys soon. I'm gonna try to get a few videos up a week, and hopefully get some good deer footage. The weather's gonna be crappy for the next couple days, rainy and whatnot, so debating if I want to go out or not. But if it snows, I'm definitely going out. The snow is great, because definitely if you do have a, you know, or you're not sure where the deer went, you know, the snow definitely makes it easier, you know, tracking a deer. So, all right, guys, you guys be safe out there. We'll see you soon. If you're liking the page, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.